Well, how's it going, patrons? Welcome back to another video. I'm just on break at work, and I got some time to film something that I wanted to talk about. Now, this topic is Taiwan, the real China, is something I'm planning on releasing for YouTube. But I wanted to make sure that I can have all my ideas out properly, and I figured why not make it a patron video for now to have in order to do that, and then you guys can help me out. So I encourage you guys to comment below so that I can get, a better idea, because sometimes you guys say things that I didn't think of or I didn't consider, and then I might want to put it in the video. So here it goes. This is probably going to be long too, because these things are complicated. So is Taiwan the real China? Well, not exactly. It's not really the correct question to ask, because that's under the assumption that Taiwan is claiming that it is China, and it isn't. Maybe when the KMT way back when were the sole power of Taiwan, maybe they would complain it, because back then they swore to mount a counterattack again and take back the mainland, which, as we all know, never came to fruition. So it isn't actually claiming China as it is today, because today there are multiple different political parties, and under that there are millions of people that have their own ideas about the whole conflict and what's going on, and do they consider themselves Chinese, and all of that. So today there isn't really a huge claim on China. Taiwan has sort of become its own thing. They formed their own culture, and culture is the key word here. This is something I'm going to be bringing up a lot, and that's why this situation becomes so difficult, because culture isn't necessarily an easy thing to define. Hey, some police coming through here? Cool. So I'll start with China and the problems that they have. Now, being a communist party, the interesting thing to note about them is that the way that they're dealing with the culture is they're not allowing it to flourish in a natural way. They're carefully picking and choosing the things that they want included in their culture, and so it's being selected, and that's really interesting, because not a lot of places do that. You kind of have to be a one-party dictatorship in order for that to work. So that's one big difference. And so China has its issues. So even before the conflict between the KMT and the communists happened, 200 years before that, China was a fucking mess. Yes, it was like the Qing dynasty and they had some power, but they were just in constant war with either themselves or foreign powers. And 200 years of that, it's like, is that culture? Is that what we're going to define as culture? Was that the heyday? Because I don't think so. Which dynasty are we going to choose as the pinnacle of Chinese culture? So that's a really difficult question to answer too. And China's biggest problem was the Great Leap Forward and the Revolution. Okay, two different things, but basically what happened during the Revolution is that they thought all of China's problems were to be blamed on traditional Chinese values and sort of the old ways of doing things. And that's why they were just being tossed around by foreign powers, and they weren't able to defend themselves. They thought that it was just obsolete. Like, there wasn't really, they needed a new thing, and that new thing was socialism with Chinese values, right? And so what they did is they murdered all the scholars, and they killed all the teachers. And who were killing all the teachers? Well, the students, and so what you're left with is no education. It's complete fucking chaos. People are getting murdered. A civil war happens. Japan invades. It sucked. It wasn't well, Japan invaded before that, but still, as you can imagine, it wasn't a good thing. And like the Great Leap Forward, well, they needed agriculture because people were starving. They've been starving for 200 years. It was a very difficult place to live, and so they forced people out of the cities to go be farmers. At least people don't know how to farm, so that's a big problem. So people are still starving, and it's not like you can teach them how to farm because you just murdered all their fucking teachers. And a lot of my local Chinese friends will stop short of calling that a mistake, but they do recognize that that wasn't necessarily a good idea. And so they just sort of pressed Control-Alt-Delete on their own culture, and they were left without one. And that's why today you have a generation, and Seamook and Winston have hilarious ways of describing these sort of evil IEs and these evil shoo-shoos, because they didn't really, nice flowers are blooming during the springtime. That's kind of cool. This bike is so fucking slow, I actually have time to appreciate those things. So anyways, yeah, so they are now at least scrambling and trying to grab back at different bits of their culture. They're trying to bring it back. I definitely saw that when I was living in Kaifeng. They're trying to rebuild the buildings to look more traditional and all that kind of stuff. And they're, save for religion, they are trying, to get it back in their defense. The younger generation is a lot different than the older generation, who who don't have a culture to draw from, to you know, govern their behavior or anything like that. And that's why these people are, I don't want to get into it because it sounds terrible, but they're just not cultured, and it sucks. And so that's where a lot of the criticism China gets comes from, is that there's sort of a lack of culture due to the Cultural Revolution. And so they lost a lot of it in that time, and now they're trying to get it back, but still a lot of it was lost. Now, Taiwan. What a fucking mess Taiwan is. Taiwan was, of course, controlled. It is so fucking windy out here. God damn, my audio. One of you guys keeps commenting about my audio, and I apologize. Not a whole lot I can do about the wind. But yeah, so China was controlled by China a long time ago by various dynasties. Wasn't doing so hot. Wasn't really a place of interest for the Chinese, really. And then they lost a war against Japan, and they ceded it over to the KMT, not the communists, because America defeated Japan, and America was sort of siding with the KMT, obviously, because they're not going to side with the communists. And so they gave it over to the KMT, and the KMT used Taiwan as a base of retreat when they were seemingly losing the war. And when they did that, they also raided all of the museums and brought back tons of valuable artifacts back to Taiwan, and that's why anything old that you want to see in museums or any pieces of art or anything like that, you go to Taipei. There's nothing left in China really anymore. Aside from maybe some local museums, but beyond that, you're not really going to see anything like that. But, you know, Japan had a hold on Taiwan for enough time to annex the place. And what that means is, and there's a really interesting documentary actually about it, I don't know if I'll ever find the link. One of you guys sent it to me actually, but I'll see if I can't find it and you guys can watch it. It's really interesting. But what they did is they banned 60 kilometers an hour scooter. Really? Come on now. Let's fucking get it going. So they banned the Chinese language. They changed all of the clothes that they wore, so the women were walking around in kimonos. Schools were taught in Japanese. You know, Japanese buildings were erected. They invested in a lot of infrastructure. So they built a lot of ports. So, you know, for the Japanese Imperial Navy, they built a lot of roads and railway systems, and things in Taiwan are going actually pretty well. Like, sure, they lost all of their Chinese culture, and that sucks, but their quality of life went way up. And when the KMT came back, and, you know, the people were actually kind of excited. Like, they were like, hey, you know, we get our Chinese identity back, a sense of our motherland kind of thing is coming back. And so you've got this nice, clean, tidy, orderly Taiwan, and who comes off the boats from China are these fucking ragged, poor soldiers who just fought a long, bloody war, and they look like shit. Half of them don't even have fucking shoes to wear, you know, and they just look awful. The Taiwanese are astounded. They were just like completely like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're kind of missing Japanese rule at this point, you know? And so what you have left now is a combination of multiple different cultures between southern Fujian culture, Kodiak culture, northern culture from the KMT. A lot of the soldiers came from the north. That's why the clothes that they were wearing, their uniforms, their military uniforms, were like blankets. They were like warm, you know. And this is where this is where Christine's family comes from. Her family is almost 100% KMT, and so, you know, and then there's the Japanese culture, and then Taiwan also didn't close their doors to the West like China did. They opened them up, and they traded, and they allowed for foreign investment, and so you've got a lot of American culture in there. And America didn't, like, try to, well, I guess, save for the Mormons, they didn't try to invade culturally. Like, it wasn't cultural imperialism per se. It was just as a result of things like Hollywood. And can you guys even hear me? I can't even hear myself with this wind. I'm on top of a hill, so to either side of me, that's the ocean. That's the rest of Taiwan, and I'm on a hill, so... yeah, so, you know, you've got a lot of American culture mixed in here as well. And so is that Chinese culture? So the biggest difference here, I think, is China has a lack of a culture. That's their problem. I wonder what's down there. It looks kind of cool. And then you've got Taiwan, which has too many cultures wrapped up into one to be called solely Chinese. Yes, Chinese culture is the dominant one here. But you can see it in their food. Food is a very good gauge I use to see what cultures are present in the area. Of course it is. And there's tons of Japanese food, tons of American restaurant chains. Like, what the fuck was that? That looks so fucking cool. Oh, can I go in there? I'm gonna see if I can't make my way in there. You know, tons of Italian restaurants too for some fucking reason. I can't figure out why there's so many Italian restaurants here. And, you know, so a lot of people are saying, well, Taiwan is the real culture because they didn't lose any of it, like in the Cultural Revolution. And it's like, I guess. Oh, it's a cemetery. Does that mean I'm not allowed in? Like, is it a public? I don't know. I don't want to, like, trespass. Let's just explore down here. So yeah, so it's not a simple answer. It's not like one or the other. It's more like Taiwan has their own thing, and you can see that now in the public opinion. Like, they don't really consider themselves Chinese. They just want to be left the fuck alone, and they're their own thing now. Wow, this is cool. Oftentimes, another interesting little tidbit of knowledge is that Chinese people want their funerals, not their funerals, their burials to be on hills, so that they, you know, I guess traditionally speaking, you're important if you're built on a mound or a hill. And that's why on this hill, you can see this is all Taichung City out here. I don't know if the GoPro can pick that up, but that's all the city. So there's a lot of pollution too, so you might not be able to see it. And here's all the graves of different people that were buried here. It's really interesting. I don't want to ride on there. I just don't want anyone to come and like yell at me for not doing anything wrong, but it'd be cool to show you guys some of these. I haven't actually seen any of these. This place will be busy for tomb sweeping holiday. So anyways, yeah, so that's where I'm at with this video. Is Taiwan the real China? And it's not an easy thing to explain because I don't know that there is a definitive place that can call itself China, because you can't, like, what does that mean today? What does Chinese culture mean? Like, yeah, the core values of China maybe are, but the core values of China still exist in both places. Like in Taiwan and both in China, the filial piety is still really important. That means respect for your parents, respect for your elders. Family values are still very strong. Although again, in Taiwan, you're starting to see that kind of dissipate a little bit. A lot of people are deciding not to have families anymore, which is a very Western mindset. Whereas traditionally speaking, that's preposterous. Oh. Why something red? It doesn't say why glow red, does it? Doesn't. I'll just go anywhere. I'm not sure what it says, but it says outside something. I don't know. If I get yelled at, I get yelled at. I'll just pull on my white face and say I don't understand. So yeah, so you're starting to see people kind of not choosing to be single and not having family. You're seeing that a lot. Seeing that a lot in Japan as well. So they're kind of not going away, but they're not exactly, you know, following the traditional mindset. Whereas back in China, bigger cities, sure, you're starting to see people maybe not getting married at least so early, but they're definitely still having families and things like that. So it's hard to, shit. I shouldn't be here. Fucking dogs. Goddamn guard dogs. I hate these fucking things. Get the fuck away from me. Holy shit. Oh fuck, oh fuck. Piss off. Fucking dogs. Get it. Alright. Always with the fucking dogs. God damn, there's one right beside me. The problem is that they're fucking... They've been trained to guard this place, and rightfully so. I shouldn't be here. I didn't know that. But they fucking bite first and ask questions later. And I guess that owner was trying to get them to stop going, but they fucking... I've had a lot of dogs fucking bite at my legs and shit, and that's annoying. God damn it. Anyways, the use of dogs is one thing both of these places fucking have in common. So yeah, so comment below. I mean, like, there's so much to unpack here. There's so much to talk about. Like, religion is still a thing here, but are we gonna call that culture? You know, there's a lot of minor... Ooh, fucking moth. There's a lot of minor behavioral differences I'll notice between the two countries. So for example, I'm not sure why this is, but in China, when you cheers somebody, like if you're drinking, you go to cheers them, and then you have to put their bottle or your bottle or cup lower than theirs to sort of show respect, basically being humble. I'm not really sure what, like, whatever. But in Taiwan, they don't do that. I've never seen that in Taiwan, ever. And I don't know why. I'm not really sure what the reason for that, why Taiwanese don't do that. It's kind of odd. And so there's some differences. It's hard for me to say, you know, this is a fun little road. One is more Chinese than the other. I think that one is China. It's the Communist Party now. You can call it the country. I think it's changed a lot. I think they've made some mistakes in the past, and they've unfortunately lost a lot of their culture, especially that older generation, which just literally has none. And but I also think that Taiwan is forming their own thing. They're forming their own society. They're forming their own values, and they really truly have become their own. Where the fuck am I? They are truly becoming their own island, their own nation. So I don't know, I'm struggling with it, and I don't want to release this video without a conclusion, because these things are sensitive. You know, they're sensitive to the locals, of course, and I don't want to half-ass the video. I don't want my incomplete thoughts. So that's why I'm making this here and now, so that I can kind of flesh out my thoughts, and I'm not sure when I'll release the video or how I'll film it or whatever. But I just wanted to share it with you guys as part of my daily video. But yeah, I gotta get back to work if I can find it. I'm not sure where I went. Those fucking dogs, though, boys, am I right? Did you see the fucking thing was right beside me, and I thought I was going fast enough because I was going downhill. Those things are fast little bastards. But yeah, anyways, I think I got everything I wanted to say off of my mind. I feel like I'm forgetting something because, you know, I had this idea last night because I read this comment. I get this comment fucking constantly. Taiwan's the real China, or it's China. It's real China versus fake China, and I just don't think it's that simple. I think that people assume that Taiwan is more Chinese because you can observe more things that seemingly are more cultural, but I don't really see it that way. Sure, I see a lot of religious ceremonies and a lot of religious things going on, but I don't see it like it's more Chinese. Like, as far as family values go, or the way people talk to one another, the way people treat each other is somewhat similar, honestly. And I think one of you guys actually commented it. You said something like, Taiwan is the real China. It was a response to what Christine had said, and you I don't remember who said it, and I don't even remember exactly what it says. I apologize, but you said, you know, Taiwan the real China, not totally convinced. And the point he brought up was because of all the, you know, the mixture of Japan and America. It's like, it's not really fully Chinese anymore, is it? Which is a good point. It isn't. So it's a hard question to answer. I'm not really sure where to leave the video. So, you know, if you guys have anything to say, leave it below. Help me out. But yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. Stay positive. Keep your stick in the ice. I'll catch you guys on the next one.